How do we find hope when it seems impossible to find? Advent is a season of eager expectation, of anticipation, of longing for something that isn't quite yet within our grasp. It's waiting, persevering, standing at the edge, at the cusp of something coming that is extraordinary. Hope is built into Advent. The longing for the coming of the lights, for the coming of the new realm of God. We eagerly await and expect the world to change amidst our weariness at the way the world is. It's the promise, the hope of something new, that the world cannot continue as it is. This is Advent. As I mentioned at the beginning of the service, throughout Advent, Reverend Leanne and I will be looking at the traditional themes of Advent, of hope, peace, joy, and love through the lens of immigration. Additionally, we'll be using the prophet Isaiah as a guide for us, the lectionary text provided. Why talk about immigration during Advent? Great question. It's a question worth asking. And the answer might seem obvious to some of us, but still I think it's worth addressing directly. There are very few things that I would claim as being abundantly clear in the scriptures, either the Jewish or the Christian ones. But immigration seems to be one of them. Leviticus. When a foreigner resides among you in your lands, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. It's Leviticus 19. He defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow, and loves the foreigner residing among you, giving them food and clothing. And you are to love those who are foreigners, for you yourselves were foreigners in Egypt. Deuteronomy 10. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Matthew 25. No stranger had to spend the night in the streets, for my door was always open to the traveler. It's Job discussing his devotion to God in Job chapter 31. Do not oppress a foreigner. You yourselves know how it feels to be foreigners, because you were foreigners in Egypt. Exodus chapter 23. Just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one parts, but of many. First Corinthians chapter 12. Throughout the scriptures, it seems clear: welcome the stranger, love the foreigner, treat all as neighbors. And in the Jesus story, quite inherently, is a story about immigration. According to one story, Jesus was born in Bethlehem, where then his family fled to Egypt as refugees before returning home to Galilee, echoing the story of Moses, the great liberator. Consistently, our faith and the faith of others calls us to act justly with mercy and humility in service of the stranger, of the immigrants. And it feels particularly poignant at such a time as this to speak up and to speak clearly about immigration. Folks deemed to be foreigners are facing unjust persecution all across this country, including right here in Colorado Springs. And so we come to our lectionary text today and to our theme, hope. The prophet Isaiah, throughout the entirety of his writings, speaks of hope, of a new world yet to come. In the text for today, the prophet writes about how all people will come to the Lord's mountain to receive instruction so that God may teach us God's ways and that we may walk in God's paths. Notes in the text, too, that yes, the instruction was coming from a specific place, but it was a message meant for everyone. All nations would benefit from the blessing, not just a single one. He shall judge between the nations and shall arbitrate for many peoples. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Is that not a world to hope for? And it harkens back to the original covenants made between God and Abraham, that Abraham's people would become a great nation, and that his people would be a blessing to all nations. The covenant was always universal, the message of hope for a new world for everyone. Now I get it. Hope is difficult. Cynicism is easy. It's so tempting to simply say, this is the way things have always been. We've always been violent with one another. We've always treated strangers as threats. And I get it. Immigration can be a complicated issue. People have a lot of strong feelings about it. I remember being in high school, working at a place called Meijer. It's like Walmart, but only in a few states in the Midwest. It was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, on State Route 37 or Maysville Road. That's a reference only for Jill Robinson. I worked in the health and beauty care departments, which ironically had a lot of hair care products. My job was to walk through the aisles to make sure all the displays looked neat and to assist customers as needed. I was really bad at my job. My most distinct memory, though, was when I was straightening toothpaste. It was in aisle 5, in case you wanted to know. Toothpaste boxes often became skewed, so they frequently needed to be straightened. So there I was, doing my best to diligently make sure everyone could read Crest clearly, when a lady whose skin color you might be able to guess from the story came up to me and asked, "Why do you think the toothpaste is so expensive?" To be clear, I did not know the answer. I was in high school and I was only sure about one thing, and that was who I had a crush on. But my response didn't matter because she was quick to answer for me. It's the immigrants. They're coming in and making everything expensive. This was 8 p.m. on a school night, and I was not ready for that. I don't know, and I have no idea how I responded because it caught me off guard so much that my mind went blank. It was such reckless hatred and vitriol that this moment has stuck with me. I think about this lady from time to time. I wonder if she went to church. I wonder if she thinks about how Jesus had brown skin and was persecuted by an authoritarian government. I wonder how she feels about ICE raids happening all across the country. I wonder if her hope has finally come to fruition. That's the funny thing about hope. Sometimes there's competing hopes. Her words on that day felt like a sword. And my hope is that her words have been beaten into plowshares, creating beauty and love in the world instead of attacking it with violence and with hatred. Because I have to believe people can change. I have to believe the world can change. Because I know I've changed. And I've seen the world change. The world so desperately wants you to despair. The powers that be want you to think that there is no other way, that the difficulties that face us are inevitable. They want us to think that those people are our enemies, that we should be afraid. And then they weaponize that fear into tirades about toothpaste, which turns into tyrants putting kids into cages and stoking our own rage so that we become the oppressors. The powers that be want us to think that swords are a good thing, that we should wage war against our supposed enemies. But tell me, does that feel like the world that you want? It's not the world that I want. I have hope, and I will hold desperately on to that hope, clinging to it like the heart that beats in my chest. There's a dream that cannot be killed in me, to see a world where swords are beaten into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. That world may seem impossible to achieve, but that's just a lie that we're told to believe. The world has enough cynics. I think the world is in desperate need of more people to have hope, because it is hope that keeps the dream alive. Let it not be crushed by the weights of despair, but instead rage against the cage that seeks to bind us, seeks to convince us that the way the world is the way the world should be. My friends, we are in Advent, and the light is coming. The world may seem dark at this moment, but my friends, the light is coming. I dare to hope for a world where every person can be safe. I dare to hope for a world where borders are broken down and everyone can belong. I dare to hope for a world where we see the truth that there is enough for everyone. I dare to hope for a world where we do not hoard our resources but share freely with all who need. I dare to hope for a world where every person, every child can be free. I dare to hope for the world the prophet Isaiah speaks of. And my friends, that world is coming. Advent is here. Amen.